Just when we thought that love, motherhood, and family life was dead, it's back, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you one of my favorite actresses growing up, Evamendes. She is just fabulous. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm idolizing her or anything. I don't think that's actually why I don't like to cover a lot of celebrities, because I don't think it's good to idolize celebrities or try to emulate everything that they do, because they are humans just like us, so we shouldn't hold them to these high standards or look at them like they're some goddess or something.
I want to be like you.
Or, you know, portray them as these perfect people, because they're not. They're humans just like us. And I just try to be very careful that, you know, not to idolize anyone or put someone on a pedestal. But in this case, I felt like it was totally appropriate, because there's something that Evamendes has been doing that I think is just so admirable, and I wanted to share with everyone. Now, guys, I know we're all tired of the same story, that you have to be this workaholic mom, wife to be successful or to be happy in life. Well, buckle up, guys, because that's not the case with Evamendes. So we all know that Evamendes is an actress. For those of you who don't know, she's known for movies like Hitch or The Place Beyond the Pines. She is also married to Ryan Gosling, who plays Ken in the movie Barbie. I've always loved Eva. She's stunning, she's smart, she's very classy. She's always had this very classy sense of fashion and style, and I've always loved that about her. And yeah, I've always been a big fan of hers. But that's it. I've watched her movies and everything, but I recently read this article about her focus on motherhood and how she stepped away from the spotlight in Hollywood to focus on being a mother. It seemed that her priorities shifted and she wanted to be there for her kids, and I think it's just fabulous. I think that's amazing. Okay, so let's just get to the article, because I think you should just hear it straight from her mouth. It was the easiest decision I ever made. Your career comes and goes, but kids, yeah, that was easy for me. They're just formative years. I wanted to be there all for it. Guys, I am here for it, because you don't hear this. You don't hear this from any celebrities. And it's such a refreshing take. And I know it seems kind of silly, like, okay, like how is that monumental? How is that such a revolutionary thought to be a mother? Like, you know, a lot of moms do that. You don't really hear it from someone whose career was booming, especially as an actress. And it's that type of career requires a lot of focusing in a way on yourself, because you have to make sure you're constantly booking jobs, booking gigs. And this is coming from someone, I have an acting background, and it is a lot of work. It's a very time consuming, and you do have to focus a lot on yourself in order to continue in this career or with this profession. I do think there can be a balance. It's just really hard, and I can't imagine, especially because she's married to Ryan Gosling, who's also a very, very busy and successful actor. So I can't imagine how, you know, the conversation must have gone, because I'm sure they both had a very strange and unconventional schedule. For those of you who don't know, usually actors can be working for weeks to months at a time, and it's just all day, sometimes nights too, filming, because there's usually a very tight schedule, and filming schedules can just be very unpredictable sometimes, and sometimes you have to fly to another country and film there. So it's a very demanding job. I can't imagine how hard it is to try to manage various things if you're trying to manage your career but also be a mom. And you know, I'm sure it can be done. There can be a balance, but I'm sure balancing it's very hard. But in her case, I mean, she states it herself, it was the easiest decision she's ever made. And I did read some other articles too, and saw some other interviews where she mentions that she grew up in a household where she just remembers her mom being around, and how important that was in her life, and how much of an impact it had on her, and she wanted to give that to her kids. So that was a really big factor in her decision. And she states this in an interview with Entertainment Weekly. She says, "I'm so lucky, and I was like, if I can have this time with my children and I've still worked, I just didn't act, because acting takes you on locations, it takes you away." And that's what I was mentioning earlier, is actors, it's just such a, like, you're kind of like never tied, or you're never like in one location for long periods of times. And it also kind of gives you a little bit of insight into the dynamic, or the relationship she has with Ryan, like being just so supportive of each other and having that team effort. I think being a mother is the most important job in the world, and I can't wait to have that job. I'm really excited. And that's not to say that everyone has to be a mother, or like not everyone is called to it, but I do think it's such an honorable and worthy thing to focus on. Because when you think about it, you're raising the next generation. And you know, I see it from a Catholic perspective. I see it as we're given these gifts from God, and you know, what an honor it is to be given this gift of souls that we're now responsible for. And because of my faith, I see it as my goal is to get their souls into heaven and to reach their fullest potential. It's such a big responsibility, but such a worthy one. And like I said, you just don't hear it as much anymore. I know, like I shouldn't be maybe this excited about it. It's just not very common for me to see, at least within the Hollywood and entertainment world. And it's also just so admirable and refreshing to see how serious she takes the role. She takes it so serious being a mother that she is willing to do that. And again, it's not to say you can't do both. You should have your passions and maybe a work that you like to do and you want to do, but I believe that there should be priorities and you should be very clear on your priorities, and family should always be at the top of that list. Like Eva says, careers come and go, and when we look back on our life, I feel like your greatest accomplishments will come from how you raise your family. And again, I know it's not something for everyone, but I do think it is something to celebrate. Also, just something that was very interesting and very eye-opening and inspiring was another comment that Evamendes mentioned about what she sees in the future regarding her career. So she said basically, now that her kids are a little bit older, that basically she doesn't really miss acting the way she used to, or the way, she doesn't have that same passion for it. But if she did go back to her acting career, that the only way she would do it is if it was for a film or TV show that was family friendly, that didn't have overly explicit sexual scenes, that wasn't overly provocative or violent, and that was with her husband, Ryan. No one heard this. I was just like, oh, I just love her. Guys, this is so rare in the industry. I don't think you realize this. And I know probably some of you are like, what is the big deal? Why is this such a revolutionary statement? Because it is. I mean, if you only knew the amount of pressure, like years ago when I was younger, that I felt, I was, like I said, going on auditions, and I was young and not thinking about marriage or anything like that. I just assumed that the only way to get through this career and have a successful career was essentially giving up all of that. And even though I was always Catholic, I was born into a Catholic family, I was baptized and everything, I still steered away, but I didn't come back to God until later in life. And I realized that as I got closer to God, the more close I got to God, the further away I got from all my earthly type of desires and my obsessions with my career and my status and just superficial things that really I look back on and I'm like, why was I so stressed about that? Why was I so overly focused on that? Like I said, sometimes it felt a little lonely because I didn't really see that out there, and not that you always constantly have to have that role model. You could still do it without a role model, another celebrity role model. Like I said earlier, you don't need those types of idols. I always try to emulate what Jesus would do, and I look up to a lot of saints in the way they live their lives and just always putting God first. So that shifted obviously as I got closer to God and came back to the church. So anyways, I just kind of accepted that that's just, it's just not the popular thing in the industry, and that's okay. I don't judge people for it. I disagree with it, but it's something that has to come from your own free will, right? She has a very, I don't know her personally, so I can only see from the outside, but it seems to be a very healthy and stable relationship, marriage with Ryan Gosling, and she has a beautiful family. And just for her to say that too, that's not easy to just, maybe it is easy. It's like my old self and my new self are both talking at the same time. My old self would say, that's not easy to say no to, you know how many roles and movies, but then my new self is like, but it's so easy too at the same time to say yes to your morals and values, to say yes to the protection of your family. That's when she does that, when it's not that she's saying no to that, it's that she's saying yes to being protective of that. She has something so beautiful, she has something so valuable, and she knows it, her family, and keeping the family together, and that she's protective of it, obviously. And she knows that there are certain sacrifices that must be made, but sometimes when you're so in love with your life and you're so in love with the family and what you created, it's not hard anymore. It's easy. You'll always you say no to this, but that no means yes to something else. And she may say no to a movie role, but she says yes to her family. And that is amazing. And so it gets me so excited because, like I said, I always thought, okay, maybe, am I crazy for thinking like this? There's gotta be someone. So she basically said that she'll only do films under those conditions. I respect the heck out of it, and I was like, wow, Like, same here. Not that I'm at anywhere near her level of success in her career. As far as my acting goes, I'm in the same boat. I refuse to do sexual scenes or anything that I feel may compromise my relationship with my family, with my husband, or my values or morals, and most importantly, may compromise my relationship with God. And that's just my decision. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I used to think that's it. Like, by saying no, I just have to accept that I'll no longer be welcome in the film community, because I feel like nowadays it's like everything. There's just so much sexual content everywhere. It's not wrong to pursue your passions or career goals as long as it's not at the expense of your family, as long as you're not shifting your priority list. And I know she's not the only one. I'm not oblivious or ignorant to that or naive about that. I understand that. Seeing it, especially from someone who I admire just as like an actress, just as a fellow actress, was really refreshing. And I'm really happy. I'm happy for her. She's still done things. You know, she's also a fashion designer as well. She wrote a children's storybook. She doesn't tie herself down to one particular thing. She does what she wants to do, as long as it doesn't compromise her priorities, which is her family. And I think that's really admirable, because she will see the fruit of that. You know, I'm sure she already is seeing it. I think her daughter will grow up to appreciate that the same way she did appreciate that about her own mother. Now, another thing I feel I should mention is Ryan Gosling's take on this. I think it's so great when a couple is on the same page about something. You know, they're not in conflict on, you know, on the way they want to raise their children or the way they want to create this family together. It's so nice to see when both are on the same page and they're just like a team. You just, like, I look at them and I see a team effort. You know, they're both on board, they're both on the same team, they both know exactly what's going on, they know the game plan. Anyways, here's what Ryan Gosling said. I often think about what's going to matter to me on my deathbed that I did and that I didn't do. It puts things into perspective. It always comes back to family first. I don't think I'll regret anything professionally, but I do think when it comes to Eva and the girls, they come first. Chef's kiss. Beautiful answer. That's the type of teamwork that I think a successful relationship should have. Now, that's not to say they don't have their own issues. I'm sure, no, you know, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and we shouldn't idolize their relationship either. But like any relationship, I'm sure it's not perfect, but that is a sign of a really strong foundation, a really strong unit, and it's just very admirable to see, because it's not very common nowadays, not just in the entertainment industry, but in general. I mean, think about it. Ryan is at the top of his game right now. He is uber successful and has done some of the biggest films, not to mention Barbie. That was, like, I think one of the highest grossing films in the last several years. But even with all that fame and success and spotlight and attention, even then, he reminds himself that family is first. Not only does he say it, his actions show it. And he's always celebrating Eva. He's always including her. I read somewhere that she goes everywhere with him whenever he's filming, that she'll go with him a lot of the times. And when he's done filming, he goes home and he's with his family. And he's always celebrating her and he's always excited to talk about her. You could just tell he's her biggest cheerleader. She's his biggest cheerleader. I love it. I love seeing it. Now, I also think I should bring up that there is certain conversation nowadays that kind of looks down on motherhood a bit. Unfortunately, in today's age, I think people don't see motherhood as a job. They don't see being a mother as exciting or as something to be celebrated. It's almost framed in a way like it's inferior to other jobs, like flashier, more glamorized jobs, like being maybe like a big time hotshot lawyer, famous actress, being a top level executive. We currently live in a day and age where those are the things that are pushed on us as things that we should focus on. Like, those are the things you should strive to be. And this comes from generations of being told that, right? Not, don't have kids too young, don't get married too young, don't think about family, like leave the family thing for later. I think it's just been ingrained in our minds through generations that family should be, it's like an afterthought. It should be something you do later in life. The problem with that is just framing it like that belittles it. Even if maybe it wasn't meant to be communicated in a way like family's less important, it was just, it still comes across as though family is secondary to career and to success. So the mistake there I see is that it belittles the family life. Times change, things are generational, things come in phases, they come and go, and ways of looking at life change. And so I think there was a time when that was just so ingrained in us, and that now we're just facing the consequences of that.
That's LA. They worship everything and they value nothing.
I don't think it was right. I think it was wrong to have portrayed family life like that. It's not to say you should also overly obsess with, you know, finding a wife or a husband. You idolize them or whatever and obsessing over the family life either. There's extremes, right? But I don't think it should be belittled, or I don't think it should be seen in an inferior way. I think it's very honorable. I think it's one of the most, if not the most important job, and we just don't have enough of it anymore today. I think it's just due to a misconception of motherhood. Again, this is coming from someone who's, I'm not even a mother yet. I mean, I have a pug. Moral of the story is that motherhood is worthy, it is valuable, and it's so important and needed. Anyways, I thought this was such a great story of love, of a marriage, of a family, and also a healthy dose of passion and career. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe for more content like this, and hopefully I'll be getting out some more videos within the next week or so. But I appreciate all your support, and I'll see you guys next time.